Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to break down all the things that are happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. Today, I've got a guest who won our hearts at the age of 16 on season 7 of American Idol, went on to become a multi-platinum selling artist. His single, Crush, debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and his latest pop singles, I'm Yours and Afraid to Love, are catapulting his career once again. I'm thrilled to have him on today, so please welcome David Archuleta. Hey, David.
Hey, Chris.
How are you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Good. Well, thank you for coming on. You have obviously had this insane journey since the Battle of the Davids went down on season 7 of American Idol. I don't even know where we are now, season like 20 something, I think. But there's so much that I want to talk to you about your story. But before we do, just take me back. You were 16 on American Idol, the biggest show really at the time in the world. What was that experience like for you?
It was a lot, to be honest. It was kind of like being thrown through like some kind of machine that just pulls at you from this way and that way and makes you learn a lot really fast, puts you in front of a lot of people really quickly. And it was pretty intense, I will say, but
Yeah.
it was also a really great experience because it's what gave me the exposure to who still follows me to this day. A lot of them have followed since then, and people who've joined along the way in addition to that. But like, I feel like it was like the singing boot camp in a sense.
Yeah. And you know, at the time too, you were runner up on the show, but at the time it really didn't matter because Idol was so big, and so you ended up, as we said, your debut single Crush debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and that's like pretty unusual for any kind of artist. So as you mentioned, you had this built-in following as you started your career. And, how involved were you, given that you were so young, in that first record? Did you get to pick songs, or was it kind of all done for you as the season was kind of progressing?
It happened so fast. And we were also, the season finale happened and then the American Idol tour. So basically, they would show me songs. I would be able to say yeah or no. I want to do it. No, I don't. Some of the songs I still had to do anyway, regardless of my opinion. But I was also able to write a couple of the songs on the album. There's one called A Little Too Not Over You, for example, that I released as like a follow-up single after Crush. Mm-hmm. Didn't have nearly as much of the impact that Crush did. Crush was an amazing song, but A Little Too Not Over You did really well in Asia. So it was, when I go over there, like everyone's singing along. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Cause yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Crush still slays today. It's still on regular rotation in my house. So, it's definitely one for the ages. So it was a great first single. But, do you keep in touch? We've had a couple of American Idol contestants on the show in the past, and it seems as though a lot of them feel like, they made like friends that became like family to them. They keep in touch. Do you keep in touch with any of your past Idol contestants? Or again, you were kind of like the young one of the group, but was there any connections made that you still keep in touch?
Oh yeah, definitely. The Super Bowl just happening. David Cook, who won my season, is from Kansas City, and he was a big Chiefs fan. And so when the Chiefs win, I'll usually send him a message. I did last night saying, "Hey, congrats to your team." Nice. That's just one thing I still remember about him. Just all the sports teams he loved from over there. And Brooke White, she and I, since we both grew up in the same religion as Mormons, we really bonded because being a Mormon and like a really conservative, devout Mormon, you feel like the world is dangerous. And of course, when I was a 16, 17-year-old Mormon who just like walked out of Utah
Mm-hmm.
onto national TV, I felt like everything was very unsafe. So Brooke White, who was in the top 5 of my season, was a very safe person. I came in touch with Ramiel. Who else? Ramiel and Carly Smithson. I just saw David Hernandez uh,
Wow.
a week and a half ago. I hadn't seen him in like a decade, but I
Wow.
saw him at one of the Grammy events. And so it's just fun because it was a very unique time. It's a very interesting position to be in on American Idol in front of so many people. So it does feel like a family. Like even though you go off and grow up and do your own things and start your own lives and careers, when you see each other, there's just kind of like this, oh my gosh, like it. When there was an interview that Fantasia was doing with Jennifer Hudson on the J Head show, where they were just bonding. Like people were able to see, they didn't even have to talk too much. Everyone could see the connection in their eyes of what they had to go through on the show together. And I feel like it's that each season has its own family, even though I feel like Jordan Sparks, even though she was on the season before me,
right.
I still feel like as if she were on my season because she was my age when she was on the show. So we had a lot of unspoken connection going on there. And so Jordan's another person I still keep in touch with.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I love that, you have that support system and even, today as you're releasing new music and putting stuff out, it's like great that you can still have them to support you and continue to follow the journey. You mentioned, your time and your faith was a big part of your story on American Idol. And obviously, over the last few years, you've come out that you left the church and what you called like a faith crisis. What sort of led you to do that and come forward? Because I know that especially in the Mormon community, it's very difficult to sort of come out and say anything against it. So what kind of gave you that strength to do that?
Well, I'm actually, interesting. One of the things I've been doing lately is writing a book about all this whole journey. So I'm going into a lot of the detail with that. It's been a little tricky to kind of dig in when you feel like you've moved on and moved forward, having to go back to life and the process, it kind of makes you go back into that mindset, which has been tricky, but I think it'll be really good to kind of walk people through all of that journey of what it's growing up Mormon, being on American Idol, suddenly being in front of a lot of people while being very devout, and then going through the process of coming out in a position where you're a public Mormon figure. So I've been writing away. I've done like 9 or 10 chapters already so far. So I'm excited to just delve a little more into detail about it and help people understand. It's especially for people who are on the conservative side of life and on values and beliefs. My goal is to help people understand from like a fellow person who also grew up very conservative and devout to their beliefs. A lot of conservatives feel like it's almost like you're doing something at them, like you're doing something offensive towards them, as if you're like trying to shove it in their face or be rebellious, trying to upset them. And it's like, here's a perspective of my journey and why I decided to make the choices I have and to come out, and hopefully writing the book will help people understand why this is such a crucial moment. I have been pretty open about some of the low points that I was at before I came out, and even after coming out. There's a lot to process. Since even when I was on Idol, like when I was on American Idol was the same year that Prop 8 was going on. And there's the conversation has become so much, there's been so much progress made with people being willing to listen, which I feel like I was really, I don't know what it would have been like coming out back then versus now, but I don't know what I'm saying. I feel like the bear is staring at me, by the way. I keep making eye contact with the bear behind you. Actually, when I needed you to repeat what you were saying, it was because I was like, that bear is staring deep into my soul, I feel. Never thought I could get this intimate with the bear. So
Well, it's Bariana Grande is its name. So,
Mariana
um,
Grande.
so he joins the interviews.
Uh,
Um, No, I mean, I think that it makes sense what you're saying. And like, obviously, I know you've got your memoir coming and you're going to tell kind of the full story. You also were recently, you were on The Masked Singer. And you told a lot of your story there too about coming out. And, the finale was like quite emotional.
yeah, it was.
And you continuing to tell your story there. I mean, because you talk about coming out and like being in the public eye, I can tell you that coming out is hard to do anyways. It's a hard decision to make, especially when you've got faith and you've got family that feel certain beliefs. And like, there's always kind of this tricky thing about coming out, but to do it publicly in the way that you have, and also given some of your religious ties and things, I can't imagine that this was an easy decision. Was there something that sort of helped you, or was there somebody that maybe helped you along your way to say, I can do this and I can be myself so that I can truly live my authentic life in front of everybody?
Yeah, I feel like you find like a network. You find a team of
Yep.
people to surround yourself around. And some of those people you have to almost create, like you have to create that network of people from some of the people you already know, probably having to educate them some. Family members, that grew up
Mm-hmm.
devout and very religious. Suddenly you're having to, kind of like with the book, what I was talking about, hopefully accomplishing in the book, and some of the things you share with people to help them see things differently. I had to have those same conversations with my family, with my friends, because they feel like, well, out of love, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, but in a loving way, because I
Mm-hmm.
want you to be okay. I want you to be happy. And I'm worried that this choice you're making of coming to terms with your sexuality, not being straight, I feel like can be harmful for you. So you have to help them understand, like, this is why I feel like this is the healthiest decision I can make in my life. And
Yep.
once they understand why, and it makes sense to them, and you help clear some of the rumors or the misconceptions, once you get those out of the way, then you can have some really great support system from people who you thought couldn't be there, weren't going to be there for you at first. But
Yep.
it's a lot of hard conversations to do that. And then you just find people as you like open up to one person, then to another. So usually that's when people start introducing you to other safe places. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to be willing to speak up to someone, even if it's not in your immediate circle. Like if you don't feel like you can trust anyone in your immediate circle, then I would say find someone who is from work, or maybe they know someone who is related to a queer person that they can open
Mm-hmm.
up to, because they feel like there won't be as much of a blow, there won't be as much judgment. And you start finding other queer people who can help you say, like, hey, you can live a happy life, a healthy life. You can still find love. You can still find acceptance and wonderful relationships, even being out as a
Yeah.
person of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah. As someone who, as I said, Crush is still in my regular rotation, so obviously a fan of yours for a long time, I I feel as though with this new music, I'm Yours is like also now in my regular rotation. I love the
Oh,
song. I love the video.
thank
You're
you.
serving us looks, you're serving us dance, you're giving us like some real bops. But
Thank you.
I feel as though that also feels really authentic to maybe who you are. Do you feel like this sound that you're putting out now and that you've been working on is really representative of who you maybe have always been, and now you're getting to actually showcase that through this music?
I feel like it's more showing like another side of me, another part of me, that like opening up a part of me that I felt like I had to keep closed this my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But I love heartfelt music that you can just really sing and storytelling, but I also love to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I never felt like I was able to make music that could make you move before, and now I can, which is really nice. And I'm writing both types right currently. I've
Mm-hmm.
been writing a book and writing new music, and there's more of like this singer songwritery side coming out, and then there's also just the fun dance stuff, because like I said, just both things make me feel good in different ways. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to be? Like, is there like a good common ground? Like, or just do I just do both and see which one sticks with people more? Or, I have no idea. Honestly, I feel kind of lost as an artist right now. But I'm still writing. I'm writing a bunch. I'm writing
Yeah.
again after this, and just seeing. Okay, this feels. I don't know. I feel like I've always been so indecisive, like about everything in my life. I mean, even my sexuality. But it's everything's been so indecisive. I can never, because I keep considering all the options, and
Yeah.
that's not the best when you're trying to just move forward, pave a path, make an album. It's just
Right.
stick to something. I'm like, but what about this? But what if I like, I don't know. It's
Yeah. I mean, I think that like, as someone that just, told you the I'm yours, afraid of love. I mean, these songs sound really authentic. Like it sounds like this like version of David Archuleta that like we haven't seen a lot of, because we know that you're a very talented vocalist. We know that you could do singer-songwriter. We know that you could do ballads. We love those things as fans of yours. But I think also knowing that you're doing something really like showing off the dance is like just be authentic. Like don't worry about what of picking which side you want to go to, or if you should do a singer-songwriter journey or do this other thing. Just do what feels right to you, because that's what is resonating, at least from my
so what
perspective.
if the authentic me is all over the place?
Then
Yeah,
great. That's
it's
a
hard to market that. It's hard to market something that's all over the place because then
yeah,
people don't know how to follow you really.
yeah,
It's how I feel.
yeah. I
That's just
mean,
my frustration. I'm like, I feel like I'm being authentic, trying a bunch of different things, but it doesn't feel cohesive. But then I'm like, well, I'm not really a cohesive person in general.
yeah. One of my very good friends is also an artist. Actually, you guys spent New Year's Day together, Cassidy Pope. Sh
Oh, yeah.
she was the maid of honor in my wedding. We're
No
very close,
way. Oh my
and
gosh.
she goes through a lot of the same things you do. She came off of this show. She had this background in kind of punk pop, and then she got off the show, was like in the country world, and then wanted to kind of like be more authentic to her. But then it was like, where do I go and how do I like make it sound like one thing? And you know I get it. Like as an artist, you have a lot of options, and also the way that people consume music now is so different than even when you released your first record. Is like now it's so single driven, and you can really kind of like put out whatever it is you want with a click of a button.
Hmm.
Um, but to kind of resonate, obviously you have to go viral and you have to do all of these things for people to like think of it as a success. So I get that it's a difficult task you have in front of you. So you mentioned writing. So does that mean that you're working on a like full album to go along with the kind of first three songs that you've released?
Yeah. I didn't even think about the 3 songs I've already released. That they're not on an album. I've been writing as if I was like starting fresh. And those were just kind of like, well, let's see how these feel. It was like, I've never done this before, like more up tempo-y dance ish.
Yeah.
Let's see how people respond to it.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've really been into going to like EDM shows. So that's been influencing a lot of what I've been writing lately, but as well as like some of the TikTok songs that are just really
Hmm.
intimate, or someone's like, you see a video come up on your For You page and it says, I wrote the song about this one time when I did, like, I grew up very religious and da 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 da, like Maddie Zom, who I love.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this really rings true to me. I want to write a song like that. So I've been writing stuff that's like EDM-y influenced,
Love it.
and then other songs that are influenced by these TikTokers. And I'm like, okay, these are two quite different worlds. So let me see how I can do both, find a happy medium to make it all come together. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how is this all going to be on one album? I don't know. I guess maybe the EDM stuff, like see if a DJ would want to feature me on a song that I wrote. And
There you go.
but I think of Sam Smith, where Sam Smith, perfect example.
Yeah.
He's known for songs like "Stay with Me,"
Hmm.
ballad-esque, soaring vocals, stripped track. But then you have "Latch" that he did with
Hmm.
Disclosure. That's
Yep.
just like a bop. And then you've also got like "How Do You Sleep" that he did with Max. Was it Max Martin? Also another dancey song. And then you got "Unholy." But then you've got like
Yeah.
um, "Way Too Good at Goodbyes" and I know I'm not the only one. So I'm like, I want to do that. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
I need to
Well,
figure that out.
yeah, well, he's made it work. And, I think that, there's a lot of artists out there that do have various sounds and they sort of evolve. I think like you could do the Sam Smith thing very well. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear that you're writing. There's no plans yet for a full length album though. You're just like kind of writing in the stage and then you'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
I will be releasing some songs before the album. Again, just to
Perfect.
kind of like weigh out what people respond to. And I'm also impatient. I'm like, okay, I've had this song. I just want to get it out. See what people think, and then tell the story.
I mean, that's the great thing about the industry today is you can just sort of release things and
Yeah,
put it out in the world and figure out the album and all that stuff later.
yeah.
So awesome. So you mentioned you're 9 chapters in or so on the memoir. Is the book something that we're going to be getting this year from you, or what else is kind of like slated for you in the next few months?
Well, I'm still working on it, so I guess we'll see how quickly that happens.
Yeah.
And so it'll just depend on that. I'm thinking like sometime next year, but just because there's so much more, like you write it is one thing, and then everything else that the publisher has to do is, a separate thing. It's
Yeah.
like a whole team of people. But I feel like it's been good so far. So far, like people have responded really well to it. Had really good feedback on like the proposal that I wrote, which is like a summary of the book, where you just
Mm-hmm.
kind of write like a little bit of what the book's going to be about. And just it was nice to see that people who even if they didn't really know me were still very intrigued by the story. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, okay, my friends weren't lying that I should write a book, because you're just talking to your friends and just be like, yeah, this is what I've been going through, and this is what I learned, and this is, and then they're like, you should write a book. I'm like, that's what everyone. But when you get a response from people who you don't know and are strangers and do this professionally, like book publishers and stuff, and then they're like, this is very interesting. Like, and tell us more about this part of your story, and then what happened? And I'm like, okay, well then this and this and that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess maybe I'm not as boring as I thought I was. Okay.
Well, definitely not. Are you finding, or do you think that people are going to be really surprised to read kind of all the things that you're sharing in this story, even though you have been very open about it?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot I haven't talked about, I guess, just because you think, okay, that's just, it's personal life, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like people are like, what? So I guess people will be pretty surprised, apparently, because so far they
Yeah.
have. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I guess that's not normal to go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm like a little nervous to think like, okay, like what is the response? Like once you put something out there, people, you don't really have control over how people are going to respond and talk about you. But I feel like I think it's like needed for me to get it all out of my system, help people know why I am the way I am, why I function the way I do, why what I've like getting to this point of my life has been so significant, and why how difficult it was to get here. I guess not just like coming out and being where I am now personally, but also in my career. So yeah, like I'm a little intrigued to how people will respond.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's always scary, like we said, it's scary to come out, it's scary
Yeah,
to put those things out in the world, and you're doing it on such a public platform. But I think the thing that, as I keep coming back to, is it when it feels authentic, it's like a really captivating story. You do have a really captivating story that will probably touch a lot of people and resonate with a lot of people who aren't in the public eye, but might be dealing with some of the same things that you've dealt with, and that you will give them a voice through writing this book. And so I think it's going to be very exciting. I will obviously be very excited to read it when it comes out and learn more about your story there. One of the things that we shared on your upcoming or your current videos that are out is that obviously you're dancing, but I've also noticed like the style game is like very on point. Is this like David Archuleta style, or are we bringing in a stylist to put these looks together? Because I'm loving them.
thank you. Um, for as far as like the music videos, like I got some. There's some things I got at like thrift stores that I used. Like I did hire a stylist as well.
Right.
Not every look was mine. Like jackets, I don't have a lot of jackets, but like short sleeve stuff, I usually have a lot more of, or sweaters.
But you feel really like, even though you had the stylist, they really nailed kind of your look and your aesthetic of like what you want to represent style wise.
For me, like I usually with the stylist, I usually ask them like, help me push myself out of my comfort zone. Help me push the boundary a
Nice.
little bit more. That's been the goal. Even lately, like when I go to events, I'm just like, I just want to do something different. Again, like I just want to try.
Yeah.
I want to try new things. Is essentially the my goal now. I wouldn't say I'm not really stylish. I don't really other like
I think you are.
black and whites and creams and beiges. I wear a lot of normally. I've been trying to up it up. I'm like, I want to just be like visually fun. I want to be that. That's the
Yeah.
goal. So I guess in terms of that, yeah, it's accomplishing the goal.
Yeah. Well, it's very fun. It's very bright, a lot of colors. And it's like I said, I think it's very representative of the music, which, as I told you, I'm a big fan of. So,
Thank you.
loving the style, loving the music. And like I said, I'm very excited to hear more of your story in the upcoming memoir. What else can people look forward to from you this year? That you mentioned some songs. Is there anything like very soon that we can tell folks about today, or are we still figuring out the timelines?
I mean, I would say expect something in soon, like springtime and summertime.
Great. In the meantime, it's Valentine's Day weekend, so you've got a lot of love songs. So this is a great time for folks to go into your back catalog and start listening to them now.
Yeah, I mean, Crush is a class. I've had so many people tell me all of their crush stories. Like, I played this for my girlfriend when we first were like expressing our feelings for each other. Like, oh, I've played this for my fiance or my husband or whatever. It's fun to hear people's stories, and
Yeah.
that you can be a
Yeah.
moment for them that will stick with them forever because that song at that moment was like, this is how I feel. And
Hmm.
so I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah. It's I had Kimberly Locke on here. She was from
Kimberly,
American Idol season 2, and
I think I fell in love with the eighth world wonder. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good song.
amazing. If I could sing, I would sing along with you. I sing it in the kitchen or in the bathroom or whenever it comes on. Like if we're having drinks on a Saturday night, it will definitely come on. It's another one. It's like Crush and then Eighth World Wonder. It's like we go through this rotation, but Eighth World Wonder just also had this kind of resurgence.
Oh, did
Um,
it?
yeah, it
Oh,
just
good.
it was mentioned on an award show, and the hosts were performing it, and yeah, it like took off, and people were
What
like,
awards show?
it was for if you know Las Culturistas, the podcast, Bo and Yang from Saturday Night Live and Matt Rogers, they host it, and
Oh
then they
my
host a Las
gosh.
Culturistas Awards. I think it was in L.A. It might have been New York, but yeah, they it like was nominated for some like amazing, like the pop song of the year or something, and then it won.
No
And she was
way.
like, yeah, it was crazy, like all of a sudden like everyone was listening to Eighth World Wonder again. So
That's
I mean,
awesome.
Crush will just keep living on forever, and you'll keep giving us more. But it's always fun to like have one of those songs that like people are just going to come back to over and over and over years later.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, I know that you're going to write and you're going to get going, but I'm so glad that we got to chat today, and that you shared some of your story, but also just wanted to like bring you on. What we do at the Gist is we want to tell the stories of pop culture, past, present, and future. And I think you're very representative of all of those things. You were part of a huge pop culture moment with American Idol, and obviously your story continues, and everything that you're going to give us soon. So I really appreciate having you. But before you go, can you share with the listeners, where can they keep up with you? Where are you spending your time all the many social platforms today, how can they stay in touch with David Archuleta?
Yes. You can go to, oh, sorry, I'm looking at a squirrel. There's like and his tail's just going like, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, so I get so
Perfect.
distracted. All the animals today, the bear, the squirrel, Bariana, I should say. But so you could follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I would say those are where I'm most active, and they're both David Archie. Twitter, X is the same, Threads, and what else? Facebook, just David Archuleta, but look for the blue check mark because there are a lot of fake profiles saying, "Hello, my fan. Let me message you directly. I need money for this fundraiser charity. Can you send me $50?" Or I don't know, things like that. Not me.
No.
Not me.
Yeah. Never give David Archuleta money unless you're supporting his music at his shows.
Yeah.
But if if David Archuleta asks you for money online, don't
Please don't.
give him any.
It's not some like surprise meet and greet that I'm giving you a special on. No, that would only be on davidarchuleta.com with one T.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah. You can follow me. Most of the places are David Archie, David, DavidArchie, not like a Y with the David Archie underwear. One of my friends he's like, my underwear says David Archie on it. I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Well, you should do a collab.
I know I should.
Yeah.
The Calvin Klein thing that Justin Bieber did.
Yeah, exactly.
David Archie.
You can do David Archie. Nice. Awesome. We'll look out for that. But David, thanks so much for stopping by. Such a pleasure to meet you. And for all of you out there, don't forget to, continue to listen, subscribe. You can find me at CM Vetrano on all the social platforms. And until next time, thanks so much for listening. Bye.